The first time my girlfriend's mom brought up the vacation, I thought she was just making conversation. We were sitting in their living room, the smell of cinnamon candles mixed with whatever perfume she always drowned herself in, when she leaned over and said with that bright smile of hers, "So, we're planning a family trip this summer. Somewhere tropical, maybe the Caribbean. Wouldn't that be nice?" I smiled back politely, glancing at my girlfriend, Emma, who just nodded like this was all perfectly normal. Her dad chuckled from his recliner, swirling ice in his glass of soda. "Yeah," he said. "It'll be good for the family to get away. You'll come too, right?" I hesitated, not because I didn't want to, but because their family trips always sounded expensive. I'd grown up taking road trips in beat-up cars and staying in motels with scratchy sheets. Emma's family operated differently. For them, vacation meant ocean view suites, excursions, and all-inclusive packages. Still, I liked the idea of being included. I'd been dating Emma for over a year, and while her family was polite, I often felt like an outsider, invited, but not quite embraced. So I smiled and said, "Sure, that sounds great. Let me know the dates." That was mistake number one, assuming it was just an invitation. A few weeks later, the conversation came back in a way that made my stomach turn. We were at dinner, her parents, her younger brother, Emma, and me, when her mom casually slid a glossy travel brochure across the table. The cover showed a sparkling beach, palm trees swaying under a golden sunset. "Here it is," she announced, as if unveiling some prize. 7 nights, 5-star resort, full package. Isn't it gorgeous? I picked it up, flipping through the pages. The resort looked incredible. White sand, crystal blue water, infinity pools. But the prices printed on the back nearly made me choke on my drink. "Wow," I muttered. "This is pretty high-end." Her mom nodded eagerly. "Of course. Only the best for our family." Her dad leaned forward, his elbows on the table. "So here's what we're thinking," he said in a tone that made it sound like a business deal. "Since you're the only one here with a steady job, you could cover the main costs, flights, hotel, meals. We'll handle spending money once we're there." For a second, I thought he was joking. I actually laughed. "Wait, what?" Emma's mom tilted her head, smiling like she was explaining something obvious to a child. "You know, since you're working full-time and the rest of us are, well, figuring things out. It just makes sense. You'll pay, and we'll all enjoy the experience together. A family investment." I set the brochure down slowly, my hand tightening on the edge of the table. "You want me to pay for all of it?" Her dad shrugged. "Flights for 5, hotel rooms, food. It adds up, sure, but you're doing well for yourself. And family sticks together." I looked at Emma, expecting her to jump in, to laugh and say, "Don't be ridiculous, Mom, Dad." But she didn't. She just looked at her plate, pushing peas around with her fork like she wanted to disappear. "You're serious?" I said finally. "Of course we're serious," her mom replied, her voice soft but firm. "It's not like we're asking forever. Just this once. Think of it as a gesture of commitment. You care about Emma, right? About our family." My appetite vanished. Commitment. Was this some kind of test? I could feel the heat rising in my chest, the kind you get when you realize people don't see you as a person but as a wallet with legs. I didn't argue, not yet. But I knew right then that this so-called vacation wasn't going to be the paradise they were promising. The rest of that dinner sat heavy in my stomach, even though I barely touched the food. I kept waiting for Emma to step in, to laugh at her parents' absurd suggestion. But the only sound was the clink of silverware and the low hum of the dishwasher in the background. When we finally left and got into my car, I didn't even start the engine right away. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel. "So," I said carefully, "your parents expect me to pay for a vacation for all 5 of us?" Emma sighed, still staring out the window. "They don't mean it like that." "Then how exactly do they mean it?" My voice was sharper than I intended. Because it sounded a lot like, "You've got a job, so you get to fund our luxury getaway." She turned toward me, her expression soft but defensive. They see you as responsible. You make good money, and honestly, it wouldn't hurt you. It's not forever, just this once. They think it shows you're serious about being part of the family." "Emma," I said, forcing my voice lower, steadier, "a vacation isn't a test of love. And covering thousands of dollars for people who don't even ask, they just expect, doesn't scream family to me. It screams entitlement." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "You don't understand. They've always been like this. Dad's between jobs, Mom does freelance work when she can, my brother's still in school. They just want us to have time together. If you can afford it, why not?" I stared at her. My girlfriend, the woman I thought I might actually build a future with, was telling me that paying for her entire family's luxury vacation was just logical. "Because," I said slowly, "it's not my responsibility. I work hard for my money. I budget, I save. And they're not even asking politely, they're acting like I owe them." Emma crossed her arms, clearly irritated now. "You don't see how important this trip is. It's more than a vacation, it's about family bonding. You should want to invest in that." "Invest," I repeated, almost laughing. "Emma, they're not a startup. They're your family. And if this is what bonding looks like, me being the ATM, then I'm not sure I want in." That earned me silence. She turned back to the window, and the rest of the drive was thick with tension. Over the next few days, the pressure mounted. Emma's mom texted me a breakdown of the estimated costs: flights, resort rooms, transportation, food. The number was obscene. I could feel my chest tighten just looking at it. Then came the guilt trips. "Think of it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," her mom wrote. "Emma deserves to feel special. You wouldn't want her to miss out because of money, would you?" Her dad called me one evening, his tone all businesslike. "Look, son. You're dating my daughter. That makes you part of this family. And part of being family is stepping up when it counts. We'll remember this gesture for years." I wanted to tell him that stepping up meant loyalty, respect, love, not paying for cocktails by a poolside bar in the Bahamas. But I bit my tongue. For now. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't going away. They weren't going to back off. And sooner or later, I was going to have to decide whether to cave, or to finally draw the line. The texts and calls didn't stop. In fact, they started multiplying like weeds. Every time my phone buzzed, I already knew it was going to be another push, another reminder that I was apparently the chosen sponsor for their dream vacation. One afternoon, Emma's younger brother, Ryan, decided to jump in. He was 20, still living at home, bouncing between half-finished college classes and video games. He called me out of the blue, his voice casual, almost smug. "Hey, man. So, Mom said you're covering the trip. That's awesome." I gripped the phone tighter. "Excuse me." "Yeah," he laughed. "Dude, this place looks insane. Jet skis, snorkeling, open bar. It's gonna be legendary. Honestly, good on you for stepping up. Shows you've got your priorities straight." I clenched my jaw. Ryan, I never agreed to pay for anyone's vacation. There was a pause on the line, then a scoff. Come on. You make more than all of us combined. You're really gonna nickel and dime your girlfriend's family over a couple grand? That's weak, man. Real weak. I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. By then, the pressure was seeping into my relationship with Emma. At first, she'd been quiet, trying to play mediator, but now even she was starting to turn the guilt dial higher. You know, she said one night while we sat on my couch, if you really see a future with me, this shouldn't feel so hard. My parents just want to feel secure, to know you'll take care of me. I blinked at her, stunned. Emma, taking care of you doesn't mean funding your entire family's lifestyle. I'm not marrying your parents. I'm not responsible for their choices. She gave me a look I'd never seen before, cold, almost calculating. So what, you'd rather let me watch them struggle? Let me sit out a family trip because you're being stubborn. Struggle. I snapped. This isn't about groceries or rent, Emma. This is about your family wanting a luxury vacation and expecting me to pay for it like some kind of prize cow. Do you not see how messed up that is? Her lips pressed together, but she didn't respond. Instead, she grabbed her bag and left, muttering something about needing space to cool off. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The numbers kept running through my head, the flights, the resort, the excursions. It was more than I spent on my rent for months. And for what? A week of sitting by the pool while her family treated me like a walking wallet? I wasn't angry about the money itself. I could afford it, sure, but that wasn't the point. It was about respect. About boundaries. And the longer this went on, the clearer it became. They didn't see me as Emma's partner. They saw me as their financial plan. And if I didn't put a stop to it soon, I'd be trapped in a role I never signed up for. Emma invited me to dinner at her parents' house the following weekend. I already had a pit in my stomach driving over, because I knew exactly what it was about. Sure enough, when I walked in, the dining table was set, not with food, but with printed travel itineraries spread out like contracts waiting for signatures. Her mom greeted me with a too bright smile. Perfect timing. We were just looking at the flight options. Her dad gestured toward an empty chair at the head of the table. Sit, son. Let's finalize this thing. I froze for a second, then sat slowly, my eyes darting to Emma. She looked uncomfortable, but not enough to say anything. Ryan, of course, was grinning ear to ear like a kid on Christmas morning. Her dad slid one of the printouts toward me. So here's the breakdown. 5 round-trip tickets, 2 rooms at the resort, all-inclusive package. Comes to just under 14 grand. Manageable, right? I felt the heat rise in my chest. Manageable for who? Come on, Ryan chimed in, leaning back in his chair. You've got a good salary. You drop that much on investments all the time. Think of this as investing in the family. Her mom clasped her hands together like she was praying. Sweetheart, this trip would mean so much. We've had a tough year. Emma's been stressed. A family getaway would bring us closer. And if you cover it, you'll always be remembered as the one who made it possible. My eyes narrowed. Remembered? Like you're writing a plaque for me, or something. Her dad chuckled, but there was no warmth in it. Don't be difficult. You're dating my daughter. That means you're stepping up. You want her long-term, right? This is part of proving you're serious. That word again. Proving. Like my entire worth boiled down to my bank account. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence hang. Then I asked slowly, "So let me get this straight. You want me to spend $14,000, my money, to take you on vacation. And you're telling me it's not optional, it's expected." Her mom gave a little laugh, like I was being dramatic. "It's not about the money, dear. It's about commitment. Family means sacrifice." Emma finally spoke up then, her voice small. Maybe he doesn't have to cover all of it. Maybe just the rooms and flights. We can handle food and extras." Her dad shot her a sharp look. "Emma, don't undermine this. He can afford it. He should do it." That was it. The last thread of patience in me snapped. I set the itinerary back on the table, nice and neat, and stood up. "No. I'm not paying for your vacation. Not a penny. If you want a trip, you save for it. You plan for it. But I am not your wallet." The room went silent. Her mom's smile froze. Ryan's grin dropped into a scowl. Her dad's face darkened like a storm cloud. Emma's eyes widened in shock, but not at them, at me. "Wow," Ryan muttered, breaking the silence. "Cheap. Real cheap." Her dad leaned forward, his voice low and sharp. "You better think about what you're saying, son. Because if you can't step up for my family, maybe you don't deserve to be part of it." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Then maybe I don't want to be." And I walked out, leaving their precious brochures scattered across the table. Emma showed up at my apartment later that night, her knock sharp, urgent. I opened the door to find her standing there, arms crossed, her eyes blazing in a way I hadn't seen before. "You embarrassed me," she said before I could even say hello. I raised an eyebrow. "Embarrassed you? Emma, your family ambushed me with a $14,000 bill and expected me to smile and hand over my card." She stepped inside, her voice rising. "You could have handled it differently. You didn't have to storm out like that. Now my parents think you're selfish, that you don't care about me." I shut the door slowly, keeping my voice level. "Emma, caring about you doesn't mean funding your parents' vacations. Do you not see how insane this is?" She dropped her bag on the couch with a thud. "You're making it sound worse than it is. They weren't demanding." I cut her off with a sharp laugh. "Not demanding? Emma, they literally spread out travel brochures like contracts. Your dad told me if I didn't pay, I didn't deserve to be in the family. How is that not demanding?" Her arms fell to her sides, but her jaw stayed clenched. "You don't get it. My family has always done things together. We're close. We sacrifice for each other. If you really loved me, you'd understand this isn't about money, it's about proving you're committed to us." There it was again. That word. Proving. I took a slow step toward her, lowering my voice. "Emma, I don't need to prove my love with a credit card. And if that's what your family thinks love is, then I'm not sure we're on the same page." For the first time, I saw something flicker in her expression. Fear. She sank onto the edge of the couch, her voice softening. "So, you're saying you won't do it? Not even for me?" I sat down across from her. "No. Not even for you. Because this isn't about us anymore. It's about them trying to buy control over me. If I cave now, it'll never stop." She didn't answer right away. Just stared down at her hands, twisting the ring on her finger. Then quietly she said, "You don't know what you've just done." I leaned back, my chest tight. "Maybe not. But I do know what I didn't do. I didn't let myself be used." Her eyes lifted, and for the first time since we'd started dating, I wasn't sure if she was looking at me as her boyfriend, or as her family's enemy. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of notifications. Group texts, missed calls, even emails. Emma's family wasn't letting this go. The first message I opened was from her mom. "We were shocked by your behavior last night. This family has welcomed you, and this is how you repay us? Very disappointing." Then her dad. "A man who can't take care of his partner's family isn't ready for real commitment. Think about what you want, because right now you're showing us you're not serious." And Ryan, of course, couldn't resist adding his own insult. "Congrats, bro. You just proved you're broke and selfish. No wonder you're so uptight." I stared at the phone, every word burning into me. Not because it hurt, it didn't, but because it confirmed everything I already suspected. They didn't see me as a person. I was a paycheck. Emma called soon after, her voice quiet but tense. "They're upset," she whispered, like she was reporting news I hadn't noticed. "Of course they're upset," I shot back. "I didn't roll over and let them drain me dry." She sighed. "You don't understand. They talk. They're saying you're controlling, that you don't want to share, that maybe you're not the man I thought you were." That hit me harder than I expected. "Emma, is that what you think too?" There was silence on the line. Long, heavy silence. Finally she said, "I just wish you'd handled it differently. Maybe covered part of it. Shown them you're willing to compromise. Now they think you don't care about me at all." I pinched the bridge of my nose, pacing my apartment. "Emma, I care about you. I've always cared about you. But this is manipulation. They're dangling you as leverage to bleed me dry. If you can't see that, then..." I stopped myself before finishing. "Then what?" she pressed, her voice sharp. "Then maybe we're not on the same side." The line went quiet again, but this time it wasn't heavy, it was final. She didn't argue. She just hung up. A minute later, another text buzzed onto my screen. Not from Emma. From her dad. "You'll regret this. No one disrespects my family and gets away with it." For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt something shift in me. Not fear, not guilt. Resolve. They thought they could corner me, shame me, threaten me into compliance. They were about to learn I wasn't their ATM. And I wasn't going to be their punching bag either. A week later, Emma texted me, "Dinner at my parents' tonight. Just come. Let's talk." I almost didn't go. Every instinct told me it was a trap. But a part of me still hoped Emma might finally see reason, might stand up to her parents instead of standing behind them. So I went. When I walked into their dining room, I realized immediately this wasn't just a family dinner. The table was full. Aunts, uncles, even Emma's grandparents were there. Plates were set, wine was poured, and the air buzzed with an energy that felt rehearsed. Her mom greeted me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So glad you could make it. We were just talking about family values." I sat, unease prickling down my spine. Emma barely looked at me. Halfway through the meal, her dad cleared his throat and stood. He raised his glass like he was about to make a toast. "As you all know," he began, "we've been planning a family vacation. Something special, something unforgettable. And we're blessed, because Emma's boyfriend has the means to make it happen. That's what commitment looks like, providing for the people you love." The table erupted in polite claps and nods. Someone even said, "That's wonderful," as if it was already decided. I felt my jaw tighten. I set down my fork slowly, every eye at the table flicking toward me. "Actually," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. That's not true. I never agreed to pay for anyone's vacation. And I'm not going to. The clapping stopped instantly. Silence fell, broken only by the clink of Ryan's fork against his plate. Her dad's smile cracked. Now, son, don't make a scene. I leaned forward. A scene? You just announced to your entire family that I'm funding your trip without my consent. That's not a scene. That's a lie. Her mom's eyes narrowed. Lower your voice. You're making yourself look bad. I turned, scanning the faces around the table. Some looked confused. Others embarrassed. Emma's grandmother whispered something to her aunt, eyebrows raised. I want to make this crystal clear, I said, my tone steady. I'm not paying for flights. I'm not paying for hotels. I'm not paying for your cocktails, your souvenirs, or your snorkeling trips. If you want a vacation, earn it. But stop pretending I'm your ticket to paradise. Ryan scoffed loudly. Wow. Talk about selfish. I snapped my gaze to him. You're 20 years old, Ryan. Maybe if you got off the couch and got a job, you wouldn't need your sister's boyfriend to bankroll your lifestyle. The room went dead silent. Even the clinking forks stopped. Emma's dad's face was red now, his voice low and dangerous. You don't come into my house and talk to my family like that. I stood, sliding my chair back slowly. Then stop treating me like I'm not a guest, but a wallet with legs. Because if this is what being part of your family means, count me out. And with that, I put my napkin on the table, nodded once to Emma, and walked out. Behind me, voices rose, angry, shocked, defensive. But for the first time, I didn't feel cornered. I felt free. Emma showed up at my apartment later that night, her eyes red like she'd been crying the whole drive. She didn't even knock, just used the spare key I'd given her months ago and stepped inside. I was sitting on the couch, still replaying the dinner in my head, when she spoke. How could you do that to me? Her voice cracked, part anger, part heartbreak. I set down the glass of water in my hand. Do what? Tell the truth? Stand up for myself after your dad publicly tried to announce I was buying his vacation. She shook her head, pacing the living room. You embarrassed me. In front of my entire family. Do you know what they're saying about you right now? Yeah, I said flatly. That I'm selfish. That I'm not committed. That I don't deserve you. I've heard it all already, Emma. She stopped pacing, her arms wrapping around herself like she was bracing against a storm. Why couldn't you just go along with it? Even a little? You could have covered the rooms, or the flights. Something to keep the peace. Keep the peace. My voice sharpened. Emma, your parents weren't asking for a compromise. They were demanding a blank check. They weren't inviting me, they were recruiting me as their financial plan. And the worst part? You let them. Her eyes flicked up to mine, hurt. They're my family. What was I supposed to do? Turn against them? I stood now, closing the distance between us. No. You were supposed to stand with me. That's what a relationship is. Not me versus your parents while you sit on the sidelines, but us, together. But every time they pushed, you pushed too. Every time they tried to guilt me, you joined in. She swallowed hard, her voice small. So what are you saying? I took a breath, steady and final. I'm saying this can't keep going like it has. Either you see me as your partner, not your parents' wallet, or we're done. I won't build a future where I'm treated like an ATM with a heartbeat. Her lip trembled. For a moment, I thought she might finally get it, finally understand. But then she whispered, "You don't understand what you're asking me. My family is everything. I can't just abandon them." I felt the words land like stones in my chest. And I can't abandon myself. Silence filled the room. She stared at me, torn, broken, but unwilling to step across the line that divided us. And in that silence, I realized something. This wasn't just about money. It never had been. It was about respect, boundaries, loyalty. And no matter how much I loved her, I couldn't fight for us if she wouldn't fight beside me. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Emma didn't call. Didn't text. I figured maybe that was it. That we were done. That her silence was my answer. But then, on the third night, I got a call. Not from Emma. From her grandmother. Her voice was gentle, almost apologetic. I just wanted to say, "You were right." For a moment, I thought I misheard. "I'm sorry." She sighed. "At that dinner, the way they spoke to you, it was shameful. A family trip is supposed to be about love, not about squeezing money out of someone. I don't know when my daughter and her husband became so entitled, but I see it now. And I want you to know, not everyone at that table agreed with them." I sat there stunned, gripping the phone tighter. "Thank you," I said softly. I needed to hear that. And then came the real twist. Apparently, after I walked out, the table had erupted. Emma's uncle had called her dad out, saying it was humiliating to put me on the spot like that. Her grandmother told them it wasn't my job to bankroll their laziness. Even a couple of cousins chimed in, pointing out that Ryan could easily work part-time if he wanted to contribute. The perfect image of family unity cracked that night, and it hadn't stopped cracking since. By the time Emma finally came to see me, she looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. She sat on my couch, her hands folded in her lap, and for the first time, she didn't try to argue. "They won't let it go," she said quietly. "They keep saying I should break up with you, that you're not serious. They think you humiliated them." I swallowed. "And what do you think?" She hesitated. "Too long. I think they'll never forgive you. And I don't know if I can live with that." It was the answer, even if she didn't say it outright. She wasn't choosing me. She was choosing them. And in that moment, something in me finally clicked into place. The anger, the guilt, the second-guessing, it all fell away. "Then I guess this is it," I said, my voice steady. "Because I'd rather walk away with my self-respect than stay and be treated like a bank account." Her eyes welled up, but she didn't stop me. She didn't fight for us. She just nodded, stood, and walked out of my apartment for the last time. Later, I heard through mutual friends that the vacation never even happened. Too much family fighting, too many grudges exposed. The trip of a lifetime crumbled before it ever began. And honestly, that was the real price they paid. The day after Emma left, I packed up the spare key she'd kept, slid it into an envelope, and left it in her mailbox. No note. No explanation. Just silence. Because at that point, nothing I could write would change what had already been said. For weeks, I kept expecting her to call, to show up, to say she'd made a mistake. But the call never came. And deep down, I knew why, because she hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a choice. And it wasn't me. At first, the loneliness was brutal. I missed her laugh, the way she curled up next to me during movies, the little notes she used to leave in my lunch bag. But every time I thought about going back, I remembered sitting at that dinner table, watching her father announce my bank account like it was community property. I remembered her silence while her family attacked me. And I realized, I hadn't lost Emma. I'd lost an illusion. Because if love comes with a price tag, if respect only exists as long as you're paying for it, then it's not love at all. It's a transaction. And I wasn't willing to live like that. Months later, I heard through mutual circles that Emma's family still hadn't taken a trip. The fighting never stopped. Her dad was angry at her uncle for siding with me, her mom was furious with her grandmother for calling them entitled, and Ryan apparently dropped out of school entirely. It was ironic. They tried to hold me hostage with guilt, and instead they tore their own family apart. As for me, I moved on. I started dating again, slowly, carefully. This time I looked for something different, not just attraction, not just compatibility, but loyalty. Someone who stood beside me, not behind their parents. Someone who understood that love isn't about how much you can give, but how much you can share. And here's the biggest thing I learned. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. Saying no doesn't mean you don't love someone. It means you respect yourself enough not to be used. I thought I was losing everything when I walked out of that house. But in reality, I was gaining the one thing money could never buy: my freedom.